Hi there and welcome to today's vlog. Thanks so much for joining me. One of the issues that we've had over 30 years that I've been a Methodist minister is that because we're in what's called an itinerant ministry, in other words we move every now and then round to a new place, sometimes it's difficult when you move to a new place to fit the furniture you've got into the new place, so you have to swap and change, and so it's been quite a while, since some years really, since we've had a matching suite in our lounge, because sometimes the suite we've had doesn't fit in the new place, etc, etc. So we tend to have odd bits of settees and chairs, etc, that kind of fit in physically but don't actually match. So we thought that now we're in our retirement home, which, as I've told you before, is quite a bit smaller than the manse we were living in Leicester. We thought that we would try and get some sort of matching set. So not far from us is quite a big charity shop. I think it's raising funds for the Children's Air Ambulance, and they've got quite a lot of furniture. So we've been looking, and as we've been sorting out our stuff, a lot of boxes of various items have gone to that charity shop for them to sell with the raising of funds. Anyway, Sue and I recently went along and we saw this, well, it's kind of a suite. It's a three-seater settee, an armchair and a buffet, and they kind of match. So we thought, well, they would probably just about fit in our lounge. So we bought them and we said, we've got a settee, would you take that? And they said, well, it depends on what condition it is. So anyway, when they came, they decided that our settee that we had was okay, so they took that away, but there was a bit of a problem because one of the men said, I don't think this settee is going to fit through the door. Anyway, we'll give it a go, and they huffed and puffed and shoved and tried various ways, and it wouldn't fit through the front door. So we thought, we've got a major problem here. Anyway, they said, have you got another door? So I said, yeah, we've got a door round the side, but I'm not sure that's any bigger. So they said, anyway, we'll give that a go. So Sue said, you need to move my car, which was parked at the side of the house. So I jumped in, quickly reversed, and because I was in a bit of a hurry, wasn't really looking, managed to back it slightly into a fence panel and knock the fence panel over. So anyways, we've mentioned that to the neighbour, and she said it's our fence anyway, so we'll have to get that repaired. Not a major problem. Anyway, so back to the story. They said, I'm not sure we're going to get through that door anyway, so they tried it and it wouldn't go in, and then they put in the top bit first, and eventually by jiggling it about a bit we got it into the kitchen. But the problem was they couldn't get it out of the kitchen towards the lounge. It was about perhaps a half an inch in good old measurement too wide to get through until I just gave it one more shove and it went through. So there it was in the passageway, just one more thing to get it into the lounge. And again, it kept saying, no, it's not going to work. But eventually, by jiggling and moving around and shoving and pulling, they got it into the lounge. And I said, you've achieved there something that was almost impossible. And one of the men at least was sure it would never get into the lounge. But lo and behold, the impossible was achieved. So that's our story for these last few days. And so we've now got a new settee, armchair, and a buffet set out in the lounge. It looks quite nice. So there we go. Good news. Ready for Christmas. And that kind of ties in, thinking about achieving the seemingly impossible, with a newspaper cutting. I opened another box of stuff last couple of days, and I've sorted through, and I came across an article from a newspaper called the Methodist Recorder. Now, in days gone by, lots and lots of Methodists would read that newspaper. I don't know how many people read it these days. It went up in price tremendously. I guess some people still do. Well, this one goes back to November 1992. Sue and I and our 3 children were then living in Stoke-on-Trent in the Potteries. That was my first appointment as a Methodist minister in a place called Norton-le-Moors, and I used to get the Methodist Recorder in those days. And this particular, I don't know whether I've ever done it before or since, but I cut this article out because it was such an inspiring article. There it is, you see the headline, Church Reclaimed. It says, a Sheffield church, which 22 years ago became a furniture store, has been reclaimed at a cost of nearly £500,000. That's a lot of money these days, but then it was an awful lot of money. The 135 members of Wesley Hall Church Crooks, just 23 of them wage earners, have trebled the connectional average of funding per member in order to achieve this feat. Just 15 years ago, the Mooring congregation of 10 people met in the minister's office. So it's a story of a church which had dwindled to such an extent that there were just 10 people coming along on a Sunday morning, meeting in the minister's office. But something happened. And the minister at the time said, it is God who has raised up his people, inspired and led them. They have responded in faith and in prayer. Faith has been necessary, for several times steps were taken without knowing the outcome. And it's almost possible to trace the growth back to a start of a new emphasis on prayer. So here's a tiny church almost dwindling away to nothing. The main building let out as a furniture warehouse. But something happened. God inspired his people, breathed faith into their hearts, gave them a desire to pray, to come before God, to cry out to him, and a miracle took place. And the church was redeveloped and renewed. And there's a picture of the opening service after the renewed church there, after the redevelopment. And that story so inspired me that I cut out the article and I used it to inspire the folk in my churches in Stoke-on-Trent about what could be possible from the seemingly impossible. What can happen when God is allowed to come in and inspire and to breathe new life, hope and vision into a church. And the strange thing was that when the time came after 5 years in the Potteries for us to move on, God led us in a really amazing way, that I actually became the minister of that very church that was talked about in that Methodist Recorder article. And we spent a wonderful, not always easy, but a great time in Sheffield during those 5 years, from 1995 to the year 2000, when I was asked to move to Doncaster. So God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. And so even when things are really bleak, when we're struggling, when we're losing hope, if we are open to God to move within us, to inspire us, then through him nothing is impossible. Isn't that the message of the angel to Mary when she says, how can I be having this baby when I'm not married? I've not had intimate relationships with the man I'm betrothed to. And the angel says, Mary, with God nothing is impossible. We need to remember that, to hold on to it. So, many people are really struggling at the moment. I know that, and it's tough for many people. Maybe you're one of those for whom life is really hard right now. Can I just finish by reading a little poem that somebody posted today on Twitter that I thought it's not particularly a religious or spiritual thing, but I think it speaks to those tough moments. It was written by someone called Morgan Harper Nichols. No idea who that person is, but let me read you this short poem. One day you will look back and be so glad you chose to keep going, even without knowing how everything would turn out. You will be glad you rose above the doubt, that your significance was too small. You'll be glad that you did not give up, and you chose to give your all. God calls us in the midst of this tough time to keep on trusting, keep on looking to him, keep on being open to the renewing of his Spirit. So may God fill you and me with new hope, new life, new vision, new faith. And may we bring our needs and the needs of those around us to him in prayer. So God bless you. Thank you so much for listening today.